Okay, I think I'm in the portal. You understand me? It feel like I'm in the portal, you know. Let's jump in, let's go.
Your grace and mercy
I'm back in the portal, man.
brought me through. I'm living this moment
Welcome to the portal, man.
because of you. I want to thank you and praise you too. Your grace and mercy brought me through.
Let's go.
For you, your grace brought me. I'm living this moment because of you. I wanna thank you and praise you. Your grace, grace and mercy, oh Lord, and
Okay. I am back in the portal again. You understand me? Yeah. First off, I gotta give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem Rakakwadash. Yahweh is the true name of the living God of Israel. His name means he who exists. Yahweh Shai is the true name of the one that everyone ignorantly called Jesus. Reason is because the letter J was created in 1524. The Bible, which is the correct and proper holy book, is way older than 1524. So we know his name couldn't have been Jesus. And the proper way that you say it is Yahweh Shai. And it means he who saves. Rakakwadash, means Holy Spirit in the ancient language, which is the Paleo-Hebrew, right? And Bahashem is the ancient way that you say in the name in the ancient language in the Paleo-Hebrew, right? Second and foremost, I have to pay homage to all the great men who came before me in your previous lifetimes through and during the reincarnation process, doing the same thing that I am doing for you today in your modern day lifetime. All of the great kings, all of the great prophets, great seers, and great priests, right? Doing the same thing that I'm doing for you today, which is giving you this game. You understand me? Yeah, I'm back in the portal again, man. You know? Yeah. My last couple of lessons, man, I've been touching on the chip, right? The RFID chip. If you're not in tune, you know that is the mark of the beast. Okay. But my last couple of lessons have been about, you know, mainly, if I could sum them up, are you convinced? Right? And sometimes, man, you know, in life, right? I say the two mysteries of life, right? It's to me, it's two main mysteries of life, right? The day you're born and the day you die, right? Those are the two main mysteries of life. And I've seen a lot of doctors, you know, they'll tell women, you know, oh, you gonna have this child this month, and you know, and the woman goes into labor, you know, sometimes months ahead of that time, right? And I've seen doctors tell, you know, somebody, you know, they got a certain amount of time to live. and that person end up, you know, outliving their time, right? I've even witnessed, you know, people, you know, passing away that you'll really feel like they really still supposed to be here. I don't know if it's because, you know, I'm 38 right now, man, and, you know, 40 knocking. You don't understand me? But I don't know, lately, man, I just really been thinking about, you know, the time that we about to usher into, and today it just, you know, it hit me like, you know, man, what do you want? Right? What do you want? And I'm pretty sure if I would have asked that question to a lot of people, you know, a lot of people will probably give me a lot of different answers. Some of them, the answers will be similar, you know. Some people will probably say, I want success, I want money, I want a husband, I want a wife, you know, I want great health, you know what I'm saying? I want a car, you know, I want a house of my own, you know. I want to live long enough to see my grandbabies and, you know, see my children graduate. You know, I probably would have got a lot of different answers. Right? But, I had formulated this lesson really about 2 days ago, but I wasn't ready to give it yet. And I'm really just coming from the gym, and as I was in the dressing room in the gym, this lesson fell upon my spirit. And I thought about King Solomon, you know, and it was one part about Solomon that he said, he was like, man, you know, with all the wisdom that I've gained, it's vanity. It don't mean nothing. And I thought about my previous lesson I had did, and I thought about the part about Solomon, like Solomon understood, but it still didn't stop him, you know, from, you know, being deceived by the women, right? Or his wives, right? And then I thought about King David, right? And I thought about, you know, David as being known for chasing after the Most High heart, you right? And you gotta ask, why? Why was he chasing? What was he chasing, right? I mean, this the king. And even in that lesson that I did, you know, I even stated that, you know, he understood. But even his understanding, right, he understood temptation, but he wasn't convinced enough to stop him, you know, from sleeping with Bathsheba. Right? And so, you know, I'm in the dressing room, you know, and I'm thinking about all this, and I'm thinking about the experiment I did with the women, right? And, you know, I sat down at that moment. And I went to going through my mind of all the conversations that I've had with these women. And, you know, I was basically like they vending machine. You know. And there's one thing I noticed, you know, because when you on SR, man, you know, you do be an angel frequency. So people open up to you, you know what I'm saying? And I noticed that these women would talk about, you know, loved ones that they had lost, and how that deeply, you know, affected them and impacted them. You know, some of them had lost mothers, some of them had lost mothers and fathers, right? Some of them had lost, you know, children. And it was something about each one of those conversations, you know, that as I was thinking about it, I was like, you know, as they were speaking to me, I never got the sense that it hit home, you know. And then I started thinking about me. And you know, I was like, well, what hit home for me? And two people popped up in my mind, right? First one that popped up in my mind was a girl. If she was here today, she would be, you know, a lady, right? But her name was Shakira. And Shakira ended up passing away when I was like a teenager. And I remember going to her funeral. And I remember how, you know, fucked up I was behind it. Because I was like, I wasn't fucked up at the point that, you know, I just had seen her or anything like that. That's not what got me. Right? What got me about Shakira was I couldn't help but have the thought in my mind that that could be me. And then, you know, I thought about another person that popped up in my mind. And this guy right here, man, me and him and his brothers, right? We all was like brothers, you know what I'm saying? Growing up, you know, we all fought each other. We all caught the bus together. You understand me? We all was about Momo together. You understand me? He was like my real brother, man. And his name was Jamalcolm. And Jamalcolm passed away when I was like in my mid-20s. And Jamalcolm's story is a little different from Shakira's, because with Jamalcolm, you know, Jamalcolm had two, you know, other brothers, you know. He had a brother older than him and he had a brother younger than him. And you know, and these dudes, you know, they really street like that. You feel me? So, you know, just observing life. You know, if you was just observing life, you would say that before Jamalcolm leave, you know, something bound to happen to, you know, one of his other brothers, because they really in their life like that. You know? But it didn't go that way. It didn't go that way at all. And on my channel, man, you know, you guys hear me talk about predestination and reincarnation and getting judgment for things that you have done in your previous lifetimes, right? So I understand that aspect. I do. I understand that totally. But as I was sitting there and I was thinking, you know, and when I thought about Mac, I was like, I got that same feeling again, you know. That could have been me. Right? And that's how I remember feeling, right, when I went to Mac's funeral. Right? I felt the same way I felt when I was a teenager going to Shakira's funeral. Right? That could have been me. And It's something about your peers, right? You know, when your peers go to leaving, it hit close to home. You know, it's different from, you know, if you lose a mom or a dad or, you know, an auntie or an uncle. You know, not saying that you don't miss them or, you know, you don't love them or anything like that. You know, you're not going to be greatly impacted by it, but it's something about when you lose a peer. Right? It go to hitting close to home. Or it's something about, you know, when a peer, right, goes through a life-changing situation. Right? It go to hitting close to home. Right? And it makes you examine, you know, it makes you start examining, you know, your mom, your dad, right? Your aunties, your uncles, right? Those, you know, you might have been a cousin, right? Anyone, right? Close to you, older, younger at that point, it makes you go to examining, right, their life situations and, you know, even their passing. But it always pops off with that peer, right? So once again, the question popped back in my mind, right? What do you want? And I had to really think about it. And I thought about all the car accidents and everything I done been in. And I think about the people that, you know, done been in car accidents and they not here right now. Or they might be here, but they're not the way that they were. You know, I think about all the times a pistol done got pulled on me. I done got shot at. And I think about the people who done been in them same type of situations. Some are here, but they not the way that they were. And some not here at all, right? I think about the times I done been laying in a hospital bed. I think about the people who done laid in a hospital bed. Some still laying in a hospital bed. Some, that was the last bed that they ever laid in. So at that moment, I was like, you know what? If I get success, cool. If I don't, fuck it. I don't give a fuck about that. Money, I don't really give a fuck about that neither. If I get a wife, cool. If I don't, fuck that. I don't give a fuck about that. If I get women, cool. If I don't, fuck them. I don't give a fuck about that. You know, all the things that, you know, we as men are told that, you know, we should be looking forward for, you know. It's like Solomon said, those things are vanity. And there was only 2 things left that I can honestly say that hit my mind that made me was like, hey, you got to do this lesson. And I was like, man, you know, out of everything, you know, I only want grace and mercy upon my life. That's the only thing I want. That's the only thing I need. As long as I got grace and mercy upon my life, I'm going to be all right. And, you know, I think as men, man, sometimes, you know, I wish I could have found that clip of that man, you know, with the spoon of wire, and his wife came out and she couldn't understand why he was looking at the wire. And he was like, I've had this wire for like 40 years and It's almost gone. And he was, I know I know what he was thinking. He was looking at it as, 40 years of my life is gone. But she couldn't understand that, and that's one thing I noticed about the women that I had communicated with. They couldn't see that far. Everything was very momentarily. But even through their conversations that I was very appreciative for, it always caused me as a man to think, further, like, I guess set me up for this lesson today. And I want grace and mercy. It's a lot of people, man, that, I think at times we get so caught up in life and get caught up in, in just everyday living, you know what I'm saying, that we forget that, we got people with Alzheimer's and dementia, right? I played a video once before of a brother that, that was really, if you're a millennial, he's really our age, right? But this brother goes through episodes where every, a couple of hours his wife have to remind him who he is, who she is, who his kids is, right? All of his limbs work and everything, but, every couple of hours his sound mind leaves. So for you to have your sound mind at this very moment of time, that's grace and mercy. Right? Something and just to be able to, remember, we take advantage of. We get caught up so much in our emotions and caught up in this way of life that we take advantage of something so precious and to us at times seems so small, and that's just to remember something. Let's get into the lesson, though. Let's get into the lesson. And like I say, man, I've been holding this lesson. I guess I wasn't ready. You know what I'm saying? Well, everything divine timing. You know what I'm saying? Everything divine timing. I guess I had to give those other lessons first, right? Because once you understand, the grace and mercy that's upon your life, just off of you being here, right? Then maybe you might be convinced. And I ain't saying none of us perfect. It's a lot of shit that, me personally, I've done that if I could rewind time, I would. And I'm pretty sure you guys feel the same way. But just the fact that, if you're here, right, and you listening to me and you got your sound mind, you got your limbs, you got your health, right? Grace and mercy upon your life, right? And I got to go back to the women, right, before I start this lesson. It's like I say, it's not that they didn't love their loved ones, because that's what they was venting to me about. But what I was getting to was they just didn't see themselves as that could be me. Right? Sometimes we look at life and look at people like, we're different. But tell you the truth, man, we all had to be born and we all gotta die. You understand me? So how different are we on that aspect? You know, I mean, yeah, there is, differences amongst us, but the common denominator is, we all were born, and we all have to die, right? Let's get into the lesson. And before I get into it, on this rip, right, on this time around, right, if you are tuned into my lessons, you should be very caught up. If you're not, if this is your first time tuning in, right, and I mentioned the RFID chip, right, that is the mark of the beast. Some of us will be put to death for not taking it, but there will be some who will not taste death. Right, there will be some who will endure to the end, right? And and as this lesson is going to explain, the only reason why they're going to make it to the end is because of grace and mercy, and we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it happen right now, right? Grace and mercy, right? When the world shuts down, He still provides. Grace, definition, right? Unearned favor from the Most High. Right? Which means you really ain't do nothing for that grace. Right? That's why that lady was screaming in the background of that song I was playing. Right? That song touched her soul to make her realize, like, the things that she had been through, she really felt like I really wasn't even worth making it. But the Most High had grace upon her. Mercy, right? Withholding judgment and destruction when we deserve, right? That lady probably been in some car accidents, probably done got raped, probably was on drugs, right? Knowing that she could have been dead numerous of times. But the Most High had mercy on her. He spared her. That's why she screamed in that song. Let's get it. The Most High has always showed mercy to the weak and remnant. Moses, mercy and rebellion. Even when Israel complained and doubted, Numbers 14 and 18, the Lord is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, right? And the children of Israel, they were something else, bro. Like, they were so prideful that after Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua led them out of Egypt, these motherfuckers here, to let you know these niggas, these niggas, Latinos and Native Americans, to let you know that that's them, right? These motherfuckers say, they tell Moses, you mean to tell me your God can part the Red Sea? He can, do all of that, but he can't feed us? So he just led us out here in the wilderness just to die. Right? That's not the spirit none of us want to be in. You understand me? Because then you in that spirit like that, you ain't appreciative for the Most High mercy and grace. And for a lot of times that's where that conviction come in at, because when you feel convicted in your spirit behind some shit that you feel like you really wasn't supposed to be entertaining, right? When you feel convicted in your spirit behind that, that's what it really be, right? That conviction equals, you feel like within yourself, I shitted on the Most High mercy and grace, right? Let's continue. Moses interceded when judgment was ready to fall, right? David, mercy after failure. David committed sin, yet cried out. A lot of us do. Psalm 51:1. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness. And the Most High restored him instead of destroying him. Right? Peter, mercy after denial. Peter denied Yahushua 3 times, yet was restored to lead. Luke 22:32. But I have prayed for thee, that thy faith fail not. Right? You know, a lot of people don't know about the great apostle Peter and the great apostle Paul, right? Two of the most fantastic men of the New Testament. And if you follow me, and if you also, you know, follow Great Millstone, then you should understand and know that we believe that Trump is Nero back on the earth again, right? And not only do we believe that Trump is Nero, right, Caesar, but also theologians. Right? If you typed in Trump is Nero and you went to images, look identical. And everybody, it's more than just, you know, a lot of people are saying it. Right? And just is even based upon how he's moving, right? That's how you know who's who in the reincarnation process through the parallel of the lifestyles, right? But under Nero, Apostle Paul got his head chopped off. And Apostle Peter, right, was crucified upside down. And he chose to be crucified upside down because he felt like it would have been disrespectful to get crucified upward like Yahushua, right? But they died under Nero, because Nero, as Rome was burning down, Nero went to blaming the niggas, just like white folks do. Right? That's what's about to happen now. That's why you seeing the formulation, right, or the formation of these race wars about to start popping off. Right? Because the kingdom, the Esau kingdom over here is falling. Right? A perfect example of that to let you know history does repeat itself, right, is Rosewood, Florida. Right? As Rosewood was economically, right, on a decline, what did they do? They blamed the niggas. Right? And niggas are about to get blamed again. But even then in Rosewood, even in slavery, and even in our modern day time frame, right, it's the Lord that's behind it, because it's punishment. It's punishment on us. Right? Because even in Rosewood, they got besides themselves. Right? Even in Tulsa, they got besides themselves. Right? And that's a habit, I'm just speaking for my people, that's a habit that African Americans deeply have, right? We get besides ourselves. And when we get besides ourselves, we forget about grace and mercy. So that mass whippings come again to remind you. So we up for an ass whooping coming shortly. Right? These white boys are ready to go to war with us. And I'm going to tell you niggas right now, like Yahushua told you niggas in the time of the Romans. Don't try to stand toe-to-toe with these white boys. Don't try to stand toe-to-toe with these Romans, a.k.a. these Americans. I don't give a fuck how well you think you can shoot. I don't give a fuck how well you think you can fight. You're not going to win. It's judgment. Right? But of course, you know, you're going to have 2/3 that's going to go out there just like then in Rome, right, and going to get slaughtered. It's judgment. It was meant for them to get slaughtered. Why? Because they didn't understand grace and mercy. Let's get the next one. Paul, mercy to a persecutor, right? Paul was literally hunting believers, right? Yeah, he was. Right? That's why Paul, I wanted to talk about the great Apostle Paul. That's why the Apostle Paul wasn't crucified, even though he was a Jew, but he had Roman citizenship. So by him having Roman citizenship, that's like same as having American citizenship, right? They didn't crucify him like they did Apostle Peter, right? They beheaded him. And a lot of us gonna get beheaded real soon for not taking this mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip. And I heard Apostle Tahar say something that was very instrumental. I'm probably gonna play it in a later lesson, but he was talking about the women, and he was like, you know, man, fuck the old. It was like, man, ain't any bitch out there right now, if you tell that bitch, look, you bound to get your fucking head cut off for not taking this shit, that hoe, she might don't say it right now in 2026, but believe me, in her motherfucking mind, that hoe saying, before I get my head chopped off, I'm taking that chill. It's just in her nature. So as men, you gotta be mindful of that. That's why I speak the way I speak. Right? 1 Timothy 1:13, who was before a blasphemer and a persecutor, but I obtained mercy. Right? Man, look, man, ain't none of us perfect. Grace flipped his entire life. Yeah, grace gonna always flip your life. Right? You're a cancer survivor. Grace flipped your motherfucking life. Right? If you was an alcoholic or a drug addict for numerous amounts of years, and that spirit jumped on you to put it down, yeah, grace done flipped your motherfucking life. Right? You done got in some badass car accidents and you made it out without a scratch. Grace done flipped your motherfucking life. Let's get the next point, right? The Raven provision principle. God says what you do, expect. Yeah, he always do when he rock with you. Even though he know that you know you ain't worthy of it, but he rock with you. Most I say, man, in our modern day time, he say us today, he say, man, your righteousness is like filthy rags to me. It's filthy rags. So for him to show you grace and mercy in your life, you can't shit on it. But you know, we in America, so we do all the time. Let's get Elijah. Elijah fed by birds. Yeah. 1 Kings 17, 4-6. I have commanded the ravens to feed thee there. And the ravens brought him bread and flesh in the morning, and bread and flesh in the evening, right? In these coming days, man, you know, I know a lot of people, because I be watching my video counts and shit, and I notice on these RFID chip videos, yeah, them numbers don't be like that, right? And I think it's because, you know, prophecy is like death. A lot of motherfuckers don't like to think about it. And I get it. I do. I get it. But those who do, you know, tune in and are tuned in, right? Maybe you might do have a question in your mind, like, how am I gonna eat? Like, if I can't go to the store without this chip, if I can't buy anything without this chip, how I'm gonna eat? Well, that's where you gotta remember Elijah. right? A cat or a dog might come up and walk up to you and drop a piece of bread in your lap. Ain't nothing too far off for the Most High, man. Right? So that shouldn't be no concern for you. Let's get the lesson. When systems fall and fail, the Most High does not need systems, right? He don't. Right? Y'all need the light companies, the water companies, Y'all done been programmed to need that shit. The Most High don't need none of that shit. And when them systems fail, right? If he rock with you, he gonna show you. He live outside of those systems. Birds, strangers, closed doors opening, right? Hidden provision, right? That's how the Most High, he'll rock. He'll send a stranger your way. Send your enemy your way and feed you. Right? Let's get the next one. End time pressure. When buying and selling is controlled. Now we're getting into the mark of the beast. Right? Mark of the beast system warning. Right? Revelation 13:17. That no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark. This represents a time when normal survival systems collapse. Right? Yeah, we're being ushered into a whole new time, into a new world. Right? We already are inside of that new world. It's only going to intensify. To be honest with you, we're holding the last smartphones. Right? Technology would no longer be anything that's external. Technology will be internal. You will become one with technology, the internet of all things. This represents a time when normal survival systems collapse, but grace and mercy for the remnant, right? Isaiah 4:1, survival pressure and scarcity. See, I'm really speaking to my men out there. It's like, once again, my channel really for the men. See, when you turn that chip down, it ain't gonna be no more faking no more, bro. About who believe in God or not. You ain't gonna have to worry about none of that. Right now, bro, it's hard. I know it is, cause you know that trust thing come in and all that. But this right here, bro, that's why the prophets want this shit to come to pass so bad, because we tired of trying to, decipher through motherfuckers and test the spirit of motherfuckers and trying to see, if they really rocking with the Most High or not. See, this right here, this tell all, this gonna be the tell all. Ain't no more faking. Right? Right now, the main thing that's being talked about in the news, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but it's the prisoners. Right? Man, provisions, and I'm gonna do another video, because the spirit of the mark of the beast has been on the prophets real hard lately. And the reason is because we're in that time. Right? But the provisions, they have been making and creating laws while y'all been partying and playing around and shit, right? About chipping all the prisoners up. And I'm gonna play those videos, Lord willing, tomorrow. Even though I'm already in tomorrow. But still, yeah, later. You feel me? Because I'm doing this lesson when a lot of y'all sleep, but prophecy don't sleep. Prophecy up, and it's operating 24/7. Though it tarry, it won't tarry long, right? But that RFID chip is being talked about more and more and more in mainstream media. Okay? But for my men, right, when you deny this chip, right, like I say, ain't no more guessing about this shit no more. So you gonna lose a lot of people, bro. You gonna go through a lot of emotions. You know what I'm saying? But once again, just like the shit that you going through right now in your life, right? At that moment, it's still gonna be doing the same thing, and it's forging you into gold. Let's get it. Isaiah 4:1, survival, pressure, and scarcity. Isaiah 4:1, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel, only let us be called by thy name. And if y'all been paying attention to my lessons, man, there's certain scriptures that, you know, and because I go through chat, right? I tell Chat GPT, I be like, hey, Chat, look, this what I want to do a lesson on. This is what the Spirit on me to do a lesson on. And I want you to give me the 4 KJV and Apocrypha scriptures and give me in-depth, prophetic elaborations and scenarios. Right? And if y'all paying attention, right, to the scriptures that Chat steady bringing out. Right? One thing about Isaiah 4:1, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 16, right? The men are gonna go to war, right? They're gonna get drafted, right? And I touched on that on my previous lesson, right? And by the men getting drafted, there's not gonna be too many men left here. Right? And the men that are left here is once again, it's going to be race wars popping off, civil wars popping off. You know, it's just going to be a scarcity of men. So what you seeing with these women, they're coming to this one man because they want to get pregnant. They want to have a baby by him, or even if they know they can't have a child anymore, they just want him to fuck them because if a man fuck a woman, he's gaining position and gaining possession over her. She wants to be owned by him, right? So that's why these women are saying this. It's gonna be a hard time for women out here, man. And it's sad that, you know, women are so short-sighted that they can't see it. They so wrapped up in the spirit of feminism that they can't see it. And another thing Apostle Tahar said, he said, man, look, man, 99% of the women gonna take the chip. And I always said in Isaiah 4:1, I was like, you know, because this is a serious time, Isaiah 4:1. And I'm like, how the fuck is these women getting clothes and food? You know? And a part of me be like, you know, because they got the chip. But then the other part of me be like, nah, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Man. Women, man. Y'all just don't know. Let's get it. Meaning scarcity, instability, survival pressure, social collapse. I'm going to be real. If you're a woman out there, you better get you a man of the Lord. You better get you a man quick. Better hope that nigga know some scriptures. You better hope he know prophecy. You know what I'm saying? You better hope the Most High have grace and mercy upon you to make you stumble across a man of the Lord and look out for you in that day. Because the thing with the men of the Lord is they're going to be able to look through your spirit. Right? They're going to be able to look through your spirit. right? Some of y'all just ain't got cut that feminism loose yet. You still in that independent, I don't need a nigga, I'm good on my own, I'm all right by me, you right? And you can say whatever the fuck you want to say, but a lot of y'all ain't cut it off. You still ain't got no man in this 2026. You still ain't got no ring on you. Those of you who do have rings on you, you still don't feel like in your spirit you belong to them. Part of you feel like you better than them. All this about to flip. Yet even in this, the Most High preserves a people. You better hope he got grace and mercy on you to preserve you. Some people the Most High gonna preserve, even though they gonna get the chip, he gonna preserve them because he want them bitches to get hit with nuclear missiles. Simple as that. Simple as that. You know how much the Most High gotta fucking hate you when he preserve you just to hit your ass with a nuclear missile? Man, that's cold-blooded, boy. I'ma say it for him. You ain't shit. You ain't shit. Let's get the next one. Psalm 91, the protection covenant, right? Psalm 91, 1 and 2. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress. Psalm 91, 5 through 6. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. Those are nuclear missiles. Right? Key point, protection is not absence of danger. It is divine covering inside of danger. I'm going to say that again. Protection is not absence of danger. It is divine covering inside of danger. Which means danger still going to be there. Danger going to be, damn near even touch you. Danger might even touch you. But you still going to escape it. Let's get the next one. This one from the Apocrypha. Mercy in a time of tribulation. 2nd Ezra, right? The sealed servant. 2nd Ezra 2 and 27. Be not weary, for when the day of trouble and heaviness cometh, others shall weep and be sorrowful. Yeah. Why they gonna weep and be sorrowful? Because they took advantage of what? Grace and mercy. So now I done caught up with them. What done caught up with them? Judgment. 2nd Ezra 2 and 47. So he answered and said unto me, it is the Son of God. Listen, even in judgment, the Most High identifies and preserves his servants. It's a script that say, in that time, right when the chip come, everybody gonna know who his flock is. Why? Because they ain't gonna have no chip. Why? Because they gonna be getting their fucking head cut off. Why? Because they gonna be going to concentration camps. Why? Because they gonna be getting kicked out their house. Why? Because they gonna be getting kicked out their apartments. Why? Because they gonna be losing their cars. See, there ain't gonna be no more guessing no more. Right now, your bullshit ass preacher, he can play that role. Right? Your bullshit ass Hebrew Israelite leader, he can play that role. Right? Your mama, your daddy, your auntie, your grandma, everybody, they can play that role. But when this chip come, right? When this chip come, and another thing Apostle Tara said, he was like, man, niggas really ain't gonna get it all in their head. Niggas gonna get it in their hand. Nigga ain't trying to get nothing drilled in their motherfucking skull, but they'll let you slide something in their motherfucking hand, though, especially when some money attached to it. But you're gonna have a lot of niggas get it in their head too, and I'm gonna be real. You know, when Apostle Tara said that, I was like, yeah, I can see what he's saying, but I know niggas. I know niggas in my generation, millennials, right? It's a lot of gamers, right? And it's a lot of motherfuckers that don't like being them, right? So it's gonna be a lot of niggas getting in their head too. Wisdom of Solomon, mercy for the righteous. Be honest with you, I think if Neuralink, I don't know, this the spirit, if Neuralink, you know, came on the market tomorrow, we really would be surprised. Wisdom of Solomon 3:9. They that put their trust in him shall understand the truth. Yeah. You got trust in the Most High. You understand what I'm saying right now to you is the truth. Welcome to the new world. The internet of all things. Right? And you are included in that all. Baruch, right? Or Baruch. Provision and captivity mindset, right? It's for us that's like, fuck it. We ain't going with it. Baruch 4:27. Be of good comfort, O my children, and cry unto God. See, when Paul and Silas got locked up, right, they were crying unto the Most High. Right? All the prophets, man, when they got locked up, they got into some fucked up shit, they cried to the Most High. We got to be the same way, even up into our death. Right? The pattern. God provides outside the system. He has done it before. Noah, Ark in the judgment flood. Elijah, ravens. Israel, manna in the wilderness. Widow, Zarephath. I know this name. I know this name, and I just don't want to butcher. I just don't want to butcher his name like that. I don't want to butcher his name, but you guys see it. All never ran out. 1 Kings 17:14. Zarephath. There we go. I didn't want to butcher his name. Final lesson: grace does not mean no pressure. Grace means. Right, hold up. Grace does not mean no pressure, which means you're going to go through some shit. Grace means you could be surrounded but not consumed, pressured but not destroyed, cut off from systems but still sustained. Right? 2 Corinthians 12:9. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Right? Let's get the closing message. In the days ahead, systems may fail, buying and selling may tighten, pressure may increase, but the pattern never changes. The Most High feeds his prophets, he protects his remnant, he sends provision in unexpected ways, he shows mercy when judgment is near. Right? And that's what we want. We want grace and mercy. Right? You know, I know a lot of you guys right now, man, you might be chasing a lot of shit in life. Right? Some of y'all trying to be the next Bill Gates around this bitch. You understand me? You know? Some of y'all, you know, trying to graduate and everything like that. Trying to get your promotions up. You know? Some of y'all having children, you know, want to be the best fathers and mothers that you can possibly be, you know. Some of y'all even want those things. Some of y'all getting married, right? You know, one thing that tripped me out about the scripts is saying, you know, when Yahweh shall return, people still gonna be getting married and shit, man. Bro, you know the world, bro. The world about to be, dog, ain't shit change. Human behavior don't change, bro. That's one thing I can honestly say, bro. It's like, regardless of, you know, how much time passed, motherfuckers still gonna be on some, you know, wild ass shit. You know? Now think about it. Now, you know the mark of the beast out here. And you still, so you gotta ask the question. You know these motherfuckers is getting married. You know, right now, it costs money for a